Hey, I'm Ben Crompton and we're doing a video today on tenants' rights in Abu Dhabi. We'll talk about termination, variation of the lease, maintenance obligations. So please do take a look. So we offer a guidance called Tenants' Legal Rights and Obligations. We're happy to email it to you. It's in PDF form. It goes through this in much more detail. So please do drop us an email and request that. Be happy to give it to you. The tenant and landlord relationship is governed by Law 20 of 2006, very important law. We're going to go through about 13 points on tenants' rights here relatively quickly. Again, the guidance goes in much more detail. So number one, the rent committee. The rent committee is set up to enforce Law 20 of 2006. If you need to make an enforcement, you'll need to go to the rent committee. Number two, if your property is sold whilst you are a tenant, have no fear. The new landlord takes over the tenancy contract in exactly the same form as you had it before. So you can just be under the same legal rights and obligations as you were under the previous owner. Number three, preparation for move-in. The landlord is not legally obliged to clean and paint the property or pest control it, all right? Bear that in mind. It's best practice. You know, they should be doing this, but it's not a legal obligation. Repairs and maintenance. The landlord is legally obliged to do the maintenance on the property except for tenant maintenance. Now, it's not clear what tenant maintenance is. To the extent that you can, try and have the maintenance provision in the contract as clear as possible, because most disputes occur due to maintenance. Use of the property. You can use the property as agreed with the landlord. If you want to change the use of the property, you'll need to talk to the landlord. Obviously, if you want to turn it into commercial or something like that, it'll need to be rezoned, which is an Abu Dhabi municipality thing. So most of the time, you just need to use your property as a standard dwelling. Subletting. You can sublet the property with the agreement of the landlord. That is clear. Number seven, occupancy. Who can live in the property? Family members, absolutely. If you're sharing, you'll need to be everyone of the same sex. The guide goes into much more detail about how many people can live in a property and who can share what. So again, please request the guide. Alterations to the property. What changes can you make to the property? You can make any changes which don't damage the property. Damage is not clearly defined, but presumably if you want to build a shed in the garden, it's not going to damage the property, so you wouldn't need the landlord's permission for that. Number nine, rent raises and decreases. If you want to get a rent decrease, or I don't know why you would, a rent rise, you need to give the landlord 2 months notice before the end. Now, as is a classic in a falling market, do not wait for your landlord to give you the renewal notice, all right? Because if the renewal goes past that 2 months, you'll be stuck with the current rent. If you need a decrease, you need to give the landlord notice yourself. Make sure you do it. Make sure you do it 2 months before the end of the contract date. It's very important. Number 10, varying the lease. You want any changes to the lease? Same rule applies. You must give 2 months notice before the end of the lease. Absolutely. Non-renewal. If you don't want to renew the lease, again, you need to give 2 months notice to the landlord as if you wanted a rent decrease. If you're moving out, you've got to give those 2 months notice. Terminating the lease early. There is, and again, a lot of people get confused about this, there is no right to terminate the lease early. You can only terminate the lease early in 3 circumstances. 1, you got an early termination clause. 2, your landlord agrees with you. And 3, your landlord's committed a breach serious enough that the rent committee allows you to terminate early. So those are the only 3. There is no law on early termination. Giving back the property. You'll need to give back the property in the way that you found it. Well, that's not in the law, but customarily that's the way that it is. You'll need to vacate on the tenancy end date. Otherwise, you'll be obviously reliable for the rent and utilities used whilst you're still in occupation. So this was a brief overview. Again, please request our guide for more detail. Thank you.